This channel focuses on stories about the lives of single fathers, where I share the hidden struggles, pressures, and quiet love that are not always expressed in real life. The videos use AI to support elements such as voice and visuals, but all content is carefully crafted, edited, and developed through storytelling. These stories are fictional and inspired by various real-life situations, so they are meant to be experienced as narratives rather than taken as absolute truth. To me, even if a story isn't entirely real, as long as it can touch emotions and make people reflect, it still holds real value.
No one expected the billionaire to ask the invisible man to dance. When Adriana Vale, tech empire CEO, self-made billionaire, mother of the groom, crossed that crowded wedding reception and extended her hand to Nathan Hale, a quiet, single father standing alone in the shadows, the entire room held its breath. What happened next changed both their lives forever. This is their story. A tale of unexpected connection, forbidden feelings, and the courage to be seen. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The wedding reception hummed with the kind of energy that only comes from champagne, string quartets, and people desperate to be noticed. Crystal chandeliers threw fractured light across polished marble floors. Designer gowns swished past rented tuxedos. Laughter erupted in carefully timed bursts, the kind that said, "I'm having the time of my life," even when the smile didn't quite reach the eyes. Nathan Hale stood near the back wall, nursing a glass of water he'd been holding for 40 minutes, watching the spectacle unfold like a documentary he hadn't asked to see. He didn't belong here. He knew it. Everyone else probably knew it too. The invitation had arrived 3 weeks earlier, forwarded from an old college email address he barely checked anymore. Ryan Matthews, wedding this Saturday, +1 welcome. Nathan had stared at the embossed cardstock for a solid minute, trying to place the name. Ryan Matthews. Ryan. Oh. The guy from Introduction to Computer Science. They'd partnered on exactly 2 projects freshman year, exchanged maybe a dozen sentences total, and then drifted into separate orbits like most college acquaintances do. Why Ryan had invited him remained a mystery. Nostalgia? Filling seats? Some algorithmic LinkedIn suggestion that flagged Nathan as connection worth maintaining. It didn't matter. Nathan had almost declined. Should have declined. But his daughter Emma had been at her grandmother's that weekend. The apartment felt too quiet, and something in him, some stubborn little spark of the person he used to be before divorce and single parenthood sanded him down, whispered, "When's the last time you did something outside your routine?" So here he stood, 32 years old, wearing the one suit jacket he owned that didn't have coffee stains, watching strangers celebrate a union between 2 people he'd never met. The bride was radiant in the way brides are supposed to be, all nervous energy and careful makeup, and a smile that looked painted on with hope. The groom, Ryan, looked older than Nathan remembered, fuller in the face, confident. He wore his expensive suit like it was a second skin, shaking hands and kissing cheeks with the ease of someone who'd grown comfortable with attention. Nathan tried to remember the lanky kid who'd panicked over debugging code at 2 in the morning. That version of Ryan seemed like a different person entirely. The reception hall was massive, one of those historic ballrooms that probably hosted galas and fundraisers when it wasn't being rented for weddings. Tall windows lined the eastern wall, draped in fabric that cost more than Nathan's monthly rent. Round tables dressed in ivory linens filled the space, each centerpiece a small explosion of roses and orchids that probably wilted the moment the event ended. Nathan had found his assigned seat earlier, table 12, tucked in the back corner near the kitchen doors. He'd sat through the toasts, heartfelt but rehearsed, picked at the salmon entree, overcooked, and made minimal small talk with the other table 12 occupants, all distant relatives of the bride who seemed equally confused about why they'd been seated together. When the dancing started, he'd retreated to his current position against the back wall, content to fade into the shadows until enough time passed that he could leave without seeming rude. That was the plan, anyway. Then she walked in. Nathan noticed her immediately, though he couldn't have explained why. Maybe it was the way the crowd subtly parted as she moved through it. Maybe it was the confidence in her stride, not arrogant, but certain, like someone who'd stopped apologizing for taking up space a long time ago. She wore a deep navy dress, simple but elegant, that moved like water when she walked. Her dark hair was pulled back in a way that suggested she'd had it professionally done, but had since run her fingers through it enough times to make it her own again. Mid-50s, maybe. Beautiful in that way that has nothing to do with age and everything to do with presence. People approached her immediately. A cluster of older guests, all expensive watches and practiced smiles. They shook her hand, leaned in to speak over the music, gestured enthusiastically about something Nathan couldn't hear. She nodded politely, responded with what looked like well-rehearsed pleasantries, but her eyes looked tired. Not physically tired, emotionally tired. The kind of tired that comes from playing the same role so many times you forget what your face looks like without the mask. Nathan watched her excuse herself from one conversation only to be pulled into another, then another. Each time, the same pattern. Someone approaching with that particular brand of deference reserved for people with money or power or both. She'd smile, engage, perform. But the weariness never left her eyes. He looked away, suddenly uncomfortable, like he'd witnessed something too private. The DJ transitioned into something slower. Frank Sinatra, maybe. The dance floor filled with swaying couples, the bride and groom at the center, surrounded by parents and grandparents and friends, all performing their designated roles in the wedding reception theater. Nathan checked his phone. 9:15. He could probably leave now without offending anyone. Emma's FaceTime call was scheduled for 9:30 anyway. He'd say goodnight to his daughter, put her to bed long distance with the same 3 stories he always told, and wake up tomorrow to his regular Saturday routine of laundry and grocery shopping and quiet. Safe. Predictable. Invisible. He was reaching for his jacket when he felt it, that prickling awareness of being watched. Nathan looked up. The woman in the navy dress stood 15 feet away, looking directly at him. Not through him, not past him, at him. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second before Nathan's instinct kicked in, and he glanced away, certain he'd misread the situation. She was probably looking at someone behind him, or through him at the exit, or, "Excuse me." Nathan's heart stopped. She stood right in front of him now. Up close, she was even more striking, sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that held a kind of knowing amusement, and an expression that suggested she was used to making people nervous. "I'm sorry to interrupt your evening," she said, her voice low and smooth with just a hint of an accent Nathan couldn't place. "But I have to ask." She paused, the corner of her mouth lifting slightly. "Do you dance?" Nathan's brain short-circuited. What? Dancing." She gestured toward the floor where couples swayed to Sinatra's crooning. "Do you know how?" Nathan felt heat crawl up his neck. Several nearby guests had turned to watch. "Not really. Not well. Perfect." She extended her hand. "Neither do I." It wasn't a request. Not quite a command either. Something in between. An invitation that carried the weight of someone who didn't hear the word no very often. Nathan stared at her hand. Elegant fingers, no wedding ring, a simple platinum watch that probably cost more than his car, and experienced a moment of complete cognitive dissonance. This woman, whoever she was, had just crossed a crowded reception hall to ask him to dance. Him, Nathan Hale, the guy who'd spent the last 2 hours trying to blend into the wallpaper. "I really don't," he started. "One song," she said. Her eyes held his, and something in them made it impossible to look away. "Humor me." Nathan found himself nodding, found his hand reaching out to meet hers, found his legs carrying him toward the dance floor, even though every logical part of his brain was screaming that this didn't make sense. Her hand was warm in his, surprisingly strong. They found a space near the edge of the dance floor, away from the main cluster of couples. She stepped in close, not inappropriately close, but close enough that Nathan caught the faint scent of her perfume, something subtle and expensive. "I'm Adriana," she said, as they began to sway. "Adriana Vale." "Nathan." His voice came out rougher than intended. "Nathan Hale." "Like the spy?" "What?" "Nathan Hale, the Revolutionary War spy. I only regret that I have but one life to give for my country." She raised an eyebrow. "Please tell me you at least know your namesake." "Oh, right. Yeah, my dad was really into history." Nathan tried to find the rhythm of the music and failed spectacularly. He stepped on her foot. "God, I'm sorry. I told you I can't. Relax. Adriana's grip on his hand tightened slightly. You're thinking too much. Just move. I don't know how to just move. Then let me lead. And she did. Somehow, impossibly, she guided them through the song without making Nathan feel completely incompetent. She was a good dancer, the kind of good that comes from expensive lessons and practice. But she adjusted her movements to match his clumsy attempts, creating the illusion that they were actually dancing together rather than her dragging him along. Sinatra gave way to Ella Fitzgerald. The song ended. Nathan started to step back, assuming the arrangement was complete. Adriana didn't let go. Another, she said simply. I really should. Please. That word, please, delivered without begging or desperation, just simple honesty, like she was asking for something she actually needed. Nathan stayed. They swayed through a second song, then a third. At some point, Nathan stopped thinking about his feet and started noticing other things. The way Adriana held herself with perfect posture but without rigidity. The small scar near her left temple, barely visible under her hair. The fact that she hadn't smiled once, not really, since they'd started dancing. You're friends with Ryan? She asked during the third song. College acquaintance, really. We haven't talked in years. I was surprised to get the invitation. Something flickered across her face. He's good at that, maintaining connections, building networks. He gets it from his father. You know the family? Adriana's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile. You could say that. Before Nathan could ask what that meant, the song ended. The DJ announced something about cake cutting. The crowd shifted, reorganizing itself around the dessert table. Adriana released Nathan's hand and stepped back. Thank you, she said, for indulging a stranger. I should be thanking you. I was about to leave. Why? The question was so direct it caught Nathan off guard. I don't really know anyone here. Neither do I. Adriana's eyes swept the room. Not really. I know their names, their business cards, what they want from me. But I don't know them. She looked back at Nathan. You were standing alone all evening. Watching. Not performing. Performing. This. She gestured at the reception hall, the clusters of guests air-kissing and name-dropping and posturing. Everyone here is performing, playing their role. You're the only person I've seen all night who looked like they'd rather be somewhere else. Nathan laughed despite himself. That obvious? To someone who feels the same way? Yes. They stood there for a moment, two strangers in a room full of people, connected by something neither of them could quite name. I should go, Adriana said finally, before someone reminds me of all the people I'm supposed to talk to tonight. Right. Of course. She turned to leave, then paused. The garden. Through those doors. She nodded toward a set of French doors along the back wall. It's quieter. If you need air before you go. Before Nathan could respond, she disappeared into the crowd. He stood there, slightly dazed, trying to process what had just happened. 3 dances with a stranger. A woman who looked at him like he was actually visible. An invitation to the garden that may or may not have been an invitation to follow her. The logical thing to do was leave. Call Emma. Go home. Forget this strange interlude and return to normal. Nathan glanced at his phone. 9:23 am. 7 minutes before Emma's call. He looked toward the French doors. Then he started walking. The garden was exactly what Adriana had promised. Quieter. String lights hung between stone columns, casting warm amber pools across manicured pathways. The bass from the reception thumped distantly through the walls, but out here it was muted enough to hear the fountain at the garden's center and the rustling of leaves overhead. Nathan found Adriana sitting on a stone bench near the fountain, her shoes off, her posture finally relaxed. You came, she said without looking up. I have 7 minutes before I need to call my daughter. 7 minutes, Adriana smiled slightly. We'd better make them count then. Nathan sat down beside her, leaving a respectful distance between them. Can I ask you something? You're going to anyway. Why me? You could have asked anyone in there to dance. Why the guy hiding in the back? Adriana was quiet for a long moment, watching the fountain. Do you know who I am, Nathan Hale? Should I? Most people think so. She looked at him then, studying his face. Adriana Vale, Vale Technologies. We manufacture medical imaging equipment, diagnostic tools. My company holds 17 patents, operates in 42 countries, and employs about 30,000 people. She paused. And I'm Ryan's mother. Nathan felt his stomach drop. Wait, the groom's mother? Surprised? I guess I didn't. You don't look. He stopped himself before he dug the hole deeper. Old enough? Adriana laughed, a genuine sound this time. I had Ryan young, very young, 23, before the company, before any of this. She gestured vaguely at herself, at the expensive dress and the aura of success. He's 30 now, just married the love of his life, and I'm very happy for him. But tonight, I'm not the CEO of Vale Technologies. I'm not the keynote speaker or the investor or the woman everyone wants 5 minutes with to pitch their startup. Tonight, I'm just Ryan's mother, the woman who gets thanked in speeches and seated at the head table and congratulated for raising such a wonderful son. Her voice was even, but Nathan heard the edge beneath it, which is all true, and all I'm allowed to be tonight. Nathan understood then, the tiredness in her eyes, the careful distance she maintained even while dancing, the weight of being reduced to a single role when you've spent your entire life proving you're more than anyone's definition. So I asked the invisible man to dance, Adriana continued, because he looked like he understood what it's like to be somewhere and not be seen at all. Nathan's phone buzzed. 9:30, Emma's call. I need to take this, he said apologetically. Of course. He answered the FaceTime. Emma's face filled the screen, gap-toothed smile, wild curls that refused to be tamed, his mother visible in the background. Daddy! Hey, sweetheart, did you have fun at Grandma's? We made cookies and watched Moana, and Grandma let me stay up past bedtime, but don't be mad because she said you'd probably say it was okay. Nathan smiled. It's okay for special occasions. You ready for bed now? Will you tell me the princess story? Which one? The one where the princess has a sword. That's all of them, Em. I know. Tell the one with the dragon. Nathan glanced at Adriana, who was politely looking away, giving him the illusion of privacy. How about tomorrow night? It's getting late. Emma's face fell. But you always tell me a story. I know. I'm not home right now. Where are you? A wedding. Whose wedding? A friend from college. Emma perked up. Is it pretty? Are there flowers? So many flowers. Are you dancing? Nathan felt heat creep up his neck again. I was, earlier. With who? A friend. What friend? Do I know them? No, baby. Just someone I met tonight. Emma studied him through the screen with that unnerving perceptiveness that 6-year-olds sometimes have. You look different. Different how? I don't know. Happier, maybe. She yawned. Okay, you can tell me the dragon story tomorrow. Love you, Daddy. Love you too, Em. Sweet dreams. The screen went dark. Nathan sat there for a moment, staring at his phone, feeling strangely exposed. She sounds lovely, Adriana said quietly. She is, most of the time, when she's not trying to convince me that ice cream counts as a vegetable. How old? 6, just started first grade. And her mother? Not in the picture. Hasn't been for 4 years. Nathan pocketed his phone. Sorry, I didn't mean to take up your quiet time. You're not. Adriana turned to face him. Can I ask you something now? Fair's fair. Why did you come to this wedding? Really? If you barely know Ryan, if you don't know anyone else here, if you clearly wanted to be somewhere else, why come at all? Nathan considered the question, considered lying, went with the truth instead. Because my apartment was quiet. My daughter was gone for the weekend, and I realized I couldn't remember the last time I did something that wasn't part of my routine. Work from home, take care of Emma, repeat. I thought maybe coming here would... He trailed off. Would what? I don't know. Remind me that I used to be a person who did things, went places, talked to people. He laughed without humor. Turns out, I'm just as invisible at a fancy wedding as I am everywhere else. You're not invisible to me. The words hung in the air between them, heavier than they should have been. Nathan's phone buzzed again. A text from his mother. Emma's asleep. Don't worry about picking her up early tomorrow. Enjoy your evening. I should go, Nathan said, even though he didn't want to. Should you? Yeah, this is your son's wedding. You should be in there, celebrating. I've been celebrating for 6 hours. Adriana stood, slipping her shoes back on. I've smiled for photographs and made small talk with people whose names I'll forget by Monday, and played my role perfectly. I've earned 10 minutes in a garden with someone who doesn't want anything from me except conversation. Nathan stood too. What makes you think I don't want anything? Because you didn't know who I was. You weren't looking at the billionaire or the CEO or Ryan's mother. You were just looking at a woman who asked you to dance. She stepped closer. Do you know how rare that is? Most people see the company first, the money, the reputation. They see what I can do for them, what doors I can open, what connections I can make. Her voice was soft but intense. You saw a stranger at a wedding who couldn't dance and said yes anyway. The distance between them had somehow shrunk. Nathan could see the tiny flecks of gold in her dark eyes, the way her pulse jumped at her throat. Adriana, tell me I'm wrong. It wasn't a challenge, more like a plea. Tell me you asked my net worth or Googled me during dinner or calculated what knowing me might be worth. I didn't. Why not? Because Nathan stopped, suddenly aware of how insane this entire conversation was. He was standing in a garden with a billionaire who'd asked him to dance, talking about visibility and loneliness like they were old friends. Because I don't move in circles where knowing billionaires is useful. I fix computers. I parent a 6-year-old. My life is small. Small. Adriana repeated the word like she was tasting it. You say that like it's a bad thing, isn't it? I built an empire, Nathan, 30,000 employees, billions in revenue. My name on buildings and patents and charitable foundations. And tonight, standing in that reception hall, I felt smaller than I've felt in years. She held his gaze. Small isn't about size. It's about feeling like you've disappeared into your own life. Nathan understood completely. They stood there in the amber glow of string lights, two strangers who'd found each other by accident, connected by the specific loneliness that comes from being exactly who you're supposed to be and feeling invisible anyway. I'm going to leave, Adriana said finally, before someone comes looking for me, before the evening ends and we go back to being strangers. Okay. But I'd like to not be strangers. She pulled out her phone. May I have your number? Nathan hesitated. This woman, this brilliant, successful, impossibly confident woman, was asking for his number. It didn't make sense, couldn't make sense. Why? He asked. Because I like talking to someone who didn't rehearse their conversation before approaching me. Because you're the first person in years who looked at me without calculating what I might be worth to them. Because... She stopped, smiled slightly. Because I want to know how the dragon story ends. Nathan gave her his number. Adriana typed it in, then pocketed her phone. Thank you for the dances, Nathan Hale, and for the 7 minutes. They were good 7 minutes. They were. She turned to go, then paused at the garden entrance. For what it's worth, you're not invisible. You're just surrounded by people who aren't looking. Then she was gone, disappearing back into the reception hall, back into her role as Ryan's mother and Vale Technologies CEO and all the other identities that came with being Adriana Vale. Nathan stood alone in the garden, feeling like he'd just experienced something significant but couldn't quite name what. His phone buzzed one more time, a text from an unknown number. The dragon dies, the princess lives. She always does. Nathan smiled. He stayed in the garden for another 10 minutes. Listening to the fountain and the distant music and trying to convince himself that what had just happened was real. Then he went home to his quiet apartment, kissed his daughter's photo on the nightstand, and lay awake until 3 in the morning, replaying 3 dances and 7 minutes with a woman who'd chosen to see him. Somewhere across the city, in a penthouse that overlooked downtown, Adriana Vale sat in her home office, still wearing the navy dress, staring at Nathan's contact information in her phone. She'd built a billion-dollar company on calculated risks and strategic decisions. She knew how to read people, assess value, make the smart choice. This wasn't the smart choice. This was a single father who worked in IT and lived small and probably had no idea what he was walking into if this went any further. But he'd looked at her like she was just a woman. Not a wallet, not a network, not an opportunity. Just a woman who couldn't dance but wanted to anyway. Adriana typed out a message, deleted it, typed it again. Finally, at 11:47, she hit send. Are you awake? The response came 30 seconds later. Yeah, can't sleep. Adriana smiled, typed, neither can I. And just like that, the dance continued. The first message arrived at 7:13 on a Tuesday morning, 3 days after the wedding. Nathan was halfway through his second cup of coffee, staring at a screen full of error codes that made absolutely no sense, when his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, expecting the usual, a reminder about Emma's dentist appointment, a notification from his project management software, maybe a spam call about his car's extended warranty. Instead, he saw her name. Adriana Vale. I'm having the worst morning. Tell me something good. Nathan stared at the message for a full 30 seconds, his brain refusing to process that it was real. They'd exchanged exactly 4 texts after the wedding. Brief, polite messages that felt like two people testing whether the connection they'd felt in that garden had been real, or just champagne and string lights playing tricks. He typed back, my daughter just informed me that she's going to be a paleontologist who specializes in dinosaur feelings. So that's something. The response came almost immediately. Dinosaur feelings? Apparently they were very misunderstood. The T-Rex wasn't angry, just frustrated because his arms were too short to hug his friends. That's the best thing I've heard all week. What made your morning so bad? There was a longer pause this time. Nathan watched the 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Board meeting. 2 hours of old men explaining my own company to me. One of them called me sweetheart while disagreeing with my quarterly projections. Nathan felt a flash of anger on her behalf. What did you do? Smiled, nodded, then systematically dismantled every single one of his arguments using his own data. He's very quiet now. Remind me never to get on your bad side. You're safe. You've never called me sweetheart or explained my own business to me. Low bar. You'd be surprised how many people can't clear it. They texted throughout the day. Nothing deep, nothing that crossed any lines. Just 2 people sharing the small moments that made up their separate lives. Nathan told her about the server crash he'd spent 4 hours fixing. Adriana described the lunch meeting where a potential investor spent more time looking at his phone than listening to her pitch. When Emma came home from school, Nathan mentioned he had to go. Adriana's response was simple. Tell her a dinosaur story for me. That night, after Emma was asleep, Nathan's phone buzzed again. Are you always this easy to talk to, or am I just that desperate for normal conversation? Nathan smiled in the darkness of his bedroom. Probably both. Fair enough. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Like you wake up and think, this is fine, this is good even, but it's not what you imagined. Nathan sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. The question was too big, too honest for 11 o'clock text messages with someone he barely knew. He typed anyway. Every single day. What did you imagine? I don't know anymore. When I was in college, I had all these plans. Graduate, work for some big tech company, travel, build something that mattered. Then life happened. Got married too young to the wrong person. Had Emma, which was the best thing that ever happened to me. Got divorced. Suddenly I'm 32, working from home in sweatpants, and the biggest adventure in my week is trying new recipes that Emma will actually eat. Does Emma like the life you've built? She's 6. She likes dinosaurs and ice cream and when I do the funny voices during story time. She doesn't know any different. Then you've built something that matters. Nathan stared at those words for a long moment. What about you? You've built an empire. Isn't that what you imagined? The empire, yes. The loneliness, no. You're one of the most successful people in the country. How can you be lonely? Because success is loud, Nathan. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an agenda. And the higher you climb, the harder it is to find someone who sees you instead of what you represent. I see you. He sent it before he could overthink it. 3 words that felt simultaneously too small and too big. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I know. That's why I can't stop talking to you. Over the next 2 weeks, the texts became daily, then constant. Morning coffee thoughts, midday frustrations, late-night confessions that felt safe in the dark. They graduated from text to phone calls, first brief, almost awkward, then stretching into hours. Nathan learned that Adriana woke up at 5 every morning and ran 6 miles before most people had their first coffee. That she'd built Veil Technologies from nothing, starting in a garage with borrowed equipment, an idea that everyone said wouldn't work. That her marriage had ended badly when Ryan was 12, and she'd spent the next 18 years proving she didn't need anyone to succeed. Adriana learned that Nathan had been a promising programmer once, the kind of student professors noticed, that he dropped out of his master's program when his ex-wife got pregnant, taking a stable job instead of the startup opportunity he'd been offered. That he didn't regret the choice. Emma was everything, but sometimes he wondered about the roads not taken. "Do you ever want more?" Adriana asked during one of their late-night calls. It was past midnight, and Nathan could hear the exhaustion in her voice, but she'd called anyway. More what? More than the quiet life, the routine, the safety. Nathan was quiet, thinking. Sometimes, but want is complicated when you have a kid. What I want doesn't matter as much as what Emma needs. What if what you want could also be good for Emma? Like what? Like being happy. Like showing her that parents are allowed to have lives beyond parenting. Like modeling what it looks like to take risks and let people in. "Is this about me or about you?" Nathan asked gently. Adriana laughed, a soft exhale. "Maybe both." Ryan's been asking questions. Nathan's stomach tightened. "About what?" "About why I'm smiling at my phone more. Why I've been distracted during our weekly dinners. He thinks I'm seeing someone. Are you?" "I don't know. Am I?" The question hung in the air between them, too big for a phone call, too important to answer carelessly. "We've never even met for coffee," Nathan said finally. "We've been texting and talking for 2 weeks, and I haven't seen you since the wedding. Do you want to?" "Yes." "When?" "Whenever you want." "Tomorrow," Adriana said immediately. "There's a coffee shop on 5th and Madison. Small place, usually quiet. 1 o'clock?" Nathan's heart hammered. "I'll be there." He wasn't. He almost wasn't. The next day, Nathan stood outside the coffee shop at 12:57, frozen. Through the window, he could see Adriana already inside, sitting at a corner table looking at her phone. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, her hair down around her shoulders, and she looked so normal that it made the whole situation feel even more surreal. This was insane. She was Ryan's mother, a billionaire, someone who existed in a completely different stratosphere of life. What was he doing? His phone buzzed. "I can see you standing outside. Come in before you give yourself a panic attack." Nathan looked up. Adriana was watching him through the window, one eyebrow raised, a small smile playing at her lips. He went inside. "You're nervous," she said as he sat down. "Terrified." "Of me?" "Of this, whatever this is." Adriana set down her phone and looked at him directly. "It's coffee, Nathan. 2 people having a conversation in person instead of through screens. Nothing more complicated than that." "Everything about this is complicated." "Only if we make it complicated." A barista appeared. Nathan ordered black coffee, needing something to do with his hands. Adriana already had tea, something that smelled like lavender and honey. When they were alone again, Adriana spoke first. "Ask me what you really want to ask me. Why are you here? Why me? You could have anyone, and you're having coffee with a single dad who works from home in his pajamas most days." "I don't want anyone. I want someone who doesn't see me as a transaction. Someone who doesn't calculate their next move before they speak. Someone who tells me about dinosaur feelings and server crashes and the small, real moments that make up a life." She leaned forward slightly. "Do you know how rare that is in my world?" "I'm not special, Adriana. You're real. That's special enough." They talked for 3 hours. The coffee shop filled and emptied around them, the afternoon light shifting through the windows, but neither of them moved. They talked about Emma's upcoming school play and Adriana's next board meeting, about Nathan's failed marriage and Adriana's ex-husband who'd resented her success, about the loneliness of living lives that looked good on paper but felt hollow in practice. "I have to tell you something," Adriana said eventually, her fingers wrapped around her long, cold tea. "And you're not going to like it." Nathan braced himself. Okay. Ryan asked me directly yesterday if I was seeing someone. I told him no, because technically we haven't been seeing each other, just talking. But he's not stupid. He knows something's different. She took a breath. And I realized I was lying by omission, which is still lying. What did you tell him? Nothing yet, but I need to, soon. She met his eyes, which means I need to know what this is, what we're doing. I don't know, Nathan admitted. I know I think about you constantly. I know talking to you is the best part of my day. I know sitting here with you feels more right than anything has in years. But I also know this doesn't make sense. Don't. Adriana's voice was sharp. Don't do that. Don't reduce this to money or status or age or any of the other reasons this shouldn't work. I've heard them all. I've thought them all. And none of them change the fact that I feel more like myself with you than I have in years. What about Ryan? What about him? He's my friend, sort of. I was invited to his wedding, and now I'm having coffee with his mother, talking about feelings like we're... He stopped. Like we're what? Nathan looked at her, really looked at her, at the intelligence in her eyes, the strength in the set of her shoulders, the vulnerability she only showed when she thought no one was calculating how to use it against her. He thought about 2 weeks of texts and phone calls, and the slow, steady realization that he was falling for someone he barely knew, but somehow understood completely. Like we're starting something, he finished quietly. Adriana reached across the table and took his hand. What if we are? Then I'm terrified and excited and completely out of my depth. Good. Me too. They sat like that, hands linked across the coffee shop table, while the world moved around them and the weight of what they were beginning settled into something real. I should pick up Emma soon, Nathan said eventually, not moving. I know. Can I see you again? I'd be disappointed if you didn't want to. Tomorrow? Adriana smiled. I have meetings until 6, but there's a bookstore on Lexington that stays open late. I could meet you there at 7. I'll need to bring Emma. My mother can't watch her 2 nights in a row. Bring her. Adriana squeezed his hand. I'd like to meet the paleontologist specializing in dinosaur feelings. Nathan's throat tightened. You're sure? Nathan, if this is going to be something, Emma's part of it. I'm not interested in half measures or keeping parts of your life separate from parts of mine. I'm too old and too tired for games. Okay, tomorrow, 7 o'clock, the bookstore on Lexington. It's a date. The word hung between them. Date. Official, intentional, real. Nathan stood, still holding her hand. Thank you. For the coffee, for being honest, for not running away when you saw me panicking outside. Thank you for coming in despite the panic. Adriana stood too, and for a moment they were close enough that Nathan could count the gold flecks in her eyes again. Drive safe. Tell Emma I said hello. She doesn't know who you are. Then tell her a nice woman asked about her dinosaurs. Nathan left the coffee shop feeling like he was walking on unfamiliar ground, exhilarated and terrified in equal measure. Emma noticed immediately. She was sitting at the kitchen counter doing homework when he got home, and she looked up at him with that unnerving 6-year-old perception. You look weird, she announced. Weird how? Happy weird. Did something good happen? Nathan hung up his jacket, buying time. I had coffee with a friend. What friend? Someone I met at the wedding. Emma's eyes widened. The dancing friend? Nathan had mentioned the wedding exactly once in passing. Of course, Emma had locked on to the one detail that mattered. Yeah, that friend. Are they your girlfriend? No, just a friend? But you want them to be your girlfriend. Emma, it's okay, Daddy. Ms. Chen says it's healthy for adults to have relationships. We learned about it in health class. Nathan pinched the bridge of his nose. What exactly are they teaching you in 1st grade? Feelings and respect and consent. Miss Chen is very thorough. Emma returned to her homework like she hadn't just casually discussed relationship advice. Is she nice? Very nice. Does she like dinosaurs? I don't know. You can ask her tomorrow. Emma's head snapped up. I'm meeting her? We're going to a bookstore. She'll be there. If you want to come. Can I bring my dinosaur book? You can bring whatever you want. Emma was already sprinting toward her room, shouting something about needing to prepare questions. Nathan stood alone in the kitchen, wondering what exactly he'd just set in motion. That night, after Emma was asleep, his phone rang. Adriana. Second thoughts? She asked without preamble. About 100. You? At least twice that. He could hear the smile in her voice. I told Ryan. Nathan's heart stopped. You what? I called him an hour ago, told him I'd been talking to someone, that I was having coffee with them today, that I was going to see them again tomorrow. What did he say? He asked who it was. I told him it was too new to share details yet, but that I wanted him to know I wasn't alone anymore. Adriana paused. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said he was glad, that he'd been worried about me. Did you tell him it was me? Not yet, but I will. Soon. I'm not going to hide this, Nathan. I've spent enough of my life managing other people's perceptions and expectations. If we're doing this, we're doing it honestly. That's going to be complicated. Everything worthwhile is. They talked until past midnight, about Emma's excitement for the bookstore, about Adriana's nervousness at meeting Nathan's daughter, about the strange impossibility of two people from completely different worlds finding each other at a wedding neither of them wanted to attend. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, Nathan admitted in the dark. For you to realize this doesn't make sense and walk away. What if I'm waiting for the same thing from you? I'm not going anywhere. Neither am I. The next evening, Nathan and Emma arrived at the bookstore at 6:55. Emma had insisted on wearing her favorite dress, purple with dinosaurs on it, and carrying her prized dinosaur encyclopedia. She'd been asking questions all day about Daddy's friend, and Nathan had answered as honestly as he could without explaining the full complexity of the situation. Adriana was already there, browsing the children's section with a focus that suggested she'd been there for a while. She wore dark jeans and a soft gray cardigan, and her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked up when they approached, and Nathan saw something flash across her face. Nervousness, maybe, or anticipation. Hi, Nathan said, suddenly feeling like a teenager on his first date. Hi. Adriana's eyes moved to Emma. You must be Emma. Your dad's told me a lot about you. Emma studied her with serious eyes. Are you Daddy's girlfriend? Emma! Nathan's face burned, but Adriana laughed, a real genuine laugh. Not yet. Right now I'm his friend. Is that okay with you? Do you like dinosaurs? I don't know much about them, but I'd love to learn. Emma's face lit up. She grabbed Adriana's hand without hesitation and started pulling her toward the paleontology section. Come on, I'll show you the best books. Nathan followed them through the bookstore, watching his daughter enthusiastically explain the difference between the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods to a billionaire who listened like it was the most fascinating lecture she'd ever attended. Adriana asked questions, good questions that showed she was actually paying attention. She didn't talk down to Emma or humor her. She engaged with her like an equal. After 30 minutes of dinosaur education, Emma announced she wanted to look at the art books. She wandered off to another section, leaving Nathan and Adriana alone in the children's area, surrounded by picture books and stuffed animals. She's amazing, Adriana said softly. She likes you. The feeling's mutual. Adriana watched Emma across the store. She has your eyes and your way of looking at things like you're trying to figure out how they work. She's smarter than I ever was. She's loved. That's better than smart. They browsed together, Emma occasionally running back to show them books she'd found. At one point, Nathan's hand brushed against Adriana's, and she caught his fingers briefly, squeezing once before letting go. It was such a small gesture, but it felt like a promise. When they left the bookstore 2 hours later, Emma was carrying 3 new books and talking nonstop about how Daddy's friend Adriana knew about the Chicxulub crater and the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. Can she come over for dinner? Emma asked as Nathan buckled her into her car seat. Maybe sometime. What about tomorrow? She's probably busy, Em. Actually, Adriana said, appearing beside the car, I'm free tomorrow if the invitation's open. Emma squealed. Nathan looked at Adriana in surprise. You don't have to. I want to, if you want me to. Yes, Nathan said before he could overthink it. Yes. Come to dinner tomorrow. What time? 6? I'll bring dessert. As they drove home, Emma chattered about all the things she wanted to show Adriana tomorrow. Nathan listened with half his attention, the other half still stuck in the bookstore, replaying the moment when Adriana had taken his hand and held on. That night, after Emma was asleep, Nathan sat in his kitchen and stared at his phone. The apartment felt different somehow. Less like a cave he'd retreated into and more like a home that might have room for someone else. His phone buzzed. "Thank you for today, for letting me meet Emma, for trusting me with something that important. Thank you for being so good with her. She hasn't stopped talking about you. I haven't stopped thinking about either of you." Nathan typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, "This is real, isn't it? Whatever this is, it's real. And it's terrifying. And I don't want to stop. Neither do I. See you tomorrow, Nathan Hale. See you tomorrow, Adriana Vale." Nathan set down his phone and allowed himself to feel it. The hope, the fear, the cautious joy of something beginning. Outside his window, the city hummed with evening traffic. Inside his apartment, his daughter slept peacefully, dreaming of dinosaurs and new friends. And somewhere across town, in a penthouse that overlooked the glittering skyline, Adriana Vale sat in the dark and smiled, thinking about a quiet man and his extraordinary daughter, and the unexpected way life could shift when you stopped performing and started being seen. Tomorrow, she'd have dinner in a small apartment that probably fit inside her living room. She'd eat whatever Nathan cooked and listen to Emma's stories and pretend that the outside world, with all its complications and expectations and judgments, didn't exist. Tomorrow, they'd take another step into whatever this was becoming. But tonight, they both allowed themselves to simply want it, to acknowledge that something was building between them. Something fragile and precious and utterly improbable. Something worth protecting. Adriana arrived at Nathan's apartment building at 5:53 the next evening, carrying a bakery box that cost more than most people spent on groceries for a week. She stood in the lobby for a full 2 minutes, staring at the directory, second-guessing everything. This was different from coffee shops and bookstores. This was Nathan's home, his private space, the place where he built a life with his daughter, and she was about to walk into it carrying overpriced dessert and hoping she wouldn't somehow ruin everything by being too much or not enough, or simply wrong for this moment. Her phone buzzed. "You're standing in the lobby overthinking, aren't you?" Adriana looked up. Through the lobby window, she could see Nathan's apartment was on the 3rd floor. He was watching her. "How did you know?" "Because I've been watching you stand there for 2 minutes. Emma's getting impatient. She's already set the table 3 times. Adriana smiled despite her nerves. "I'm coming up." The elevator was old and slow, giving her plenty of time to catalog all the ways this could go wrong. She'd built boardrooms and navigated hostile takeovers and stood in front of thousands of people without breaking a sweat. But walking into a small apartment to have dinner with a man she was falling for and his 6-year-old daughter felt infinitely more terrifying than any business deal she'd ever made. Nathan was waiting in the hallway when she stepped off the elevator. He wore jeans and a simple button-down shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, and he looked at her like she was the most natural thing in the world standing in his building's fluorescent-lit hallway. "You came," he said. "Did you think I wouldn't? I thought you might realize this was insane and decide to protect your sanity." "Too late for that." Adriana held up the bakery box. "I brought chocolate cake. Emma mentioned she liked chocolate. She mentioned that once 2 days ago, and you remembered. I remember everything she says." Something shifted in Nathan's expression. He stepped closer, close enough that Adriana could smell whatever he'd been cooking, garlic and herbs and something rich and warm. "Thank you for being here. Thank you for wanting me here." The apartment door flew open. Emma stood in the doorway, still wearing her dinosaur dress from yesterday, her hair in 2 lopsided ponytails that Nathan had clearly attempted. "You're here!" Emma launched herself at Adriana's legs, hugging her with the unselfconscious enthusiasm of childhood. "Daddy made pasta, and I helped, and we have salad, but you don't have to eat it if you don't want to, because Daddy says vegetables are optional when we have guests." "Emma, let her breathe," Nathan said, but he was smiling. Adriana crouched down to Emma's level. "I love salad, and I can't wait to try the pasta you helped make. Should we go inside?" The apartment was small, maybe 900 square feet total. The living room bled directly into a galley kitchen, and Adriana could see 2 bedroom doors down a short hallway. The furniture was mismatched, but clean, clearly functional rather than decorative. Books were everywhere, stacked on shelves, piled on the coffee table, serving as makeshift bookends for more books. It was nothing like Adriana's penthouse with its floor-to-ceiling windows and designer furniture and art that cost more than some people's houses. It was better. It felt lived in, loved, real. Emma grabbed Adriana's hand and pulled her toward the small dining table that had been set with careful precision. 3 plates, 3 sets of silverware, 3 glasses already filled with water. A small vase of flowers sat in the center, daisies, simple and cheerful. "I picked the flowers," Emma announced, "from the bodega on the corner. The lady who works there let me choose them myself." "They're perfect," Adriana said, and meant it. Nathan appeared from the kitchen carrying a large bowl of pasta, fettuccine in what looked like a cream sauce with vegetables and chicken. He set it down with the careful pride of someone who didn't cook for guests often. "It's not fancy," he said, "just chicken Alfredo, Emma's favorite." "It's my second favorite," Emma corrected. "Mac and cheese is first, but Daddy says that's not a real dinner for guests." "I think it looks delicious," Adriana said. They sat. Nathan served, giving Emma a smaller portion and Adriana a generous one. For a moment it was awkward. 3 people who didn't quite know how to navigate this strange new configuration. Then Emma started talking about the dinosaur books they'd bought yesterday, and the conversation found its rhythm. Adriana asked questions. Emma answered enthusiastically. Nathan interjected with commentary and gentle corrections when Emma's facts got a little too creative. They ate and talked and laughed, and somewhere in the middle of it, Adriana realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd had a meal that felt this comfortable. No business agendas, no networking, no one trying to impress her or extract value from her presence. Just dinner with people who wanted her there simply because they enjoyed her company. "Can I ask you something?" Emma said suddenly, setting down her fork with the seriousness of someone about to broker a major negotiation. "Emma," Nathan warned. "What?" Emma looked at her father innocently. "You said I could ask questions if I was polite." "Depends on the question." Emma turned to Adriana. "Are you rich?" "Emma!" But Adriana laughed. "It's okay, that's a fair question." She looked at Emma directly. "Yes, I'm rich. Does that bother you?" Emma considered this carefully. "I don't think so. Ms. Chen says money doesn't make people good or bad. It's what they do with it that matters. Are you a good person?" "I try to be." "Do you give money to people who need it?" "Sometimes. My company has programs that help people." "Do you yell at people?" "Only when they deserve it." "Do you like my dad?" The question hung in the air. Nathan had gone very still, his fork halfway to his mouth. Adriana held Emma's gaze. "I like your dad very much." "Good. Because he likes you too. I can tell because he smiles at his phone a lot now, and he never used to do that." Emma picked up her fork again, apparently satisfied with this interrogation. "Can we have cake now?" "After you finish your vegetables," Nathan said automatically, his voice slightly strained. "You said vegetables were optional." "I said that before you started interviewing our guest about her financial status and my phone habits." Emma sighed dramatically, but ate 3 pieces of broccoli with exaggerated suffering. Adriana caught Nathan's eye across the table. He looked mortified and amused in equal measure. "She's very thorough," Adriana said quietly. "She's terrifying," Nathan muttered, 6 years old and already conducting background checks. After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Adriana her room. It was tiny, barely big enough for a twin bed, a small dresser, and approximately 7,000 stuffed dinosaurs. Drawings covered the walls, most of them featuring prehistoric creatures in various unlikely scenarios. "This one's a T-Rex at a tea party," Emma explained, pointing to a crayon masterpiece. "And this one's a Triceratops at the beach. Daddy says I have a vivid imagination." "I think you have a wonderful imagination," Adriana said, studying each drawing with genuine interest. "Do you have kids?" Emma asked. "I have a son. He's grown up now, 30 years old. He just got married." "Was that the wedding where you met Daddy?" "Yes." "Was it pretty?" "Very pretty." Emma climbed onto her bed, hugging a stuffed stegosaurus. "Daddy hasn't had a girlfriend since Mommy left. He says it's because he's too busy taking care of me, but I think it's because he's scared." Adriana sat down on the edge of the bed. "Scared of what?" "Of people leaving again. Mommy left because she said we were boring. She wanted to do exciting things and we were just... Emma shrugged, her voice matter-of-fact in the way kids are when repeating things they've heard. Regular, I guess. Adriana's heart clenched. You and your dad aren't boring, Emma. You're wonderful. I know. But some people don't see it. Emma looked at Adriana with those serious, too old eyes. Do you see it? I see it. Good. Then you can stay. Nathan appeared in the doorway. Em, it's almost bedtime. Say goodnight to Adriana. Can she read me a story? Emma, she didn't come here to... I'd love to read you a story, Adriana interrupted. If that's okay with your dad. Nathan looked between them, something vulnerable flickering across his face. Yeah, that's okay. Emma produced a well-worn copy of a book about dinosaurs. Adriana settled onto the bed beside her, and Emma curled against her side with the easy trust of a child who'd already decided Adriana was safe. Nathan stood in the doorway, watching them, and Adriana saw something in his expression that made her chest tight. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about Emma, too, about the careful, precious ecosystem Nathan had built in this small apartment, and whether Adriana could fit into it without breaking something. She read slowly, letting Emma interrupt with facts and commentary, laughing at the parts Emma thought were funny. When the story ended, Emma's eyes were heavy. Will you come back? Emma asked sleepily. If your dad wants me to. He does. He's just too scared to say it. Emma, Nathan said softly from the doorway. But Emma was already drifting off, still holding the Stegosaurus, her breathing evening out into sleep. Adriana carefully extracted herself from the bed and followed Nathan out of the room, pulling the door almost closed behind them. They stood in the hallway, close enough to touch but not touching, the weight of the evening settling between them. I'm sorry, Nathan said quietly. She's perfect. She's perfect, Nathan. She's blunt. She's honest. There's a difference. Nathan ran a hand through his hair. She doesn't usually take to people this fast. She's actually pretty shy around strangers. I'm not a stranger anymore. No, you're not. They moved back to the living room. Nathan started clearing the dinner dishes, and Adriana helped without asking, falling into an easy rhythm of cleaning up together. It was domestic and simple and felt more intimate than any of the dates Adriana had been on in the past decade. She's right, you know, Nathan said as he rinsed plates. What she said about me being scared. Of what? Of this. Of you. Of letting someone in and having them realize we're not enough. He set down the plate he was holding and turned to face her. My ex-wife left because she wanted more excitement than a guy who works from home and raises a kid could provide. She wanted adventure and spontaneity and a life that wasn't built around school schedules and bedtime routines. I'm not your ex-wife. I know, but Adriana, your life is board meetings and international travel and making decisions that affect thousands of people. My life is dinosaur facts and parent-teacher conferences and trying to convince a 6-year-old that vegetables aren't poison. How does that even work? Adriana stepped closer. Do you want to know what my life actually is? It's hotel rooms that all look the same. It's eating dinner alone at restaurants where the servers call me ma'am and treat me like a China doll they're afraid to break. It's being surrounded by people and feeling completely isolated because no one sees past the company or the money or what I can do for them. Her voice dropped. And then I met you. And suddenly I'm having dinner in a small apartment with pasta that isn't Michelin starred and flowers from a bodega, and I can't remember the last time I felt this present. This real. You're romanticizing this. I'm not. I'm just... Nathan, I've had the excitement. I've built the empire. I've proven everything I needed to prove. And at the end of the day, I go home to an empty penthouse and wonder what any of it means. She reached out, taking his hand. This means something. You mean something. Emma means something. Nathan looked down at their joined hands. I don't know how to do this. I haven't dated anyone seriously since my divorce. I don't know the rules anymore. There are no rules. We make this up as we go. What about Ryan? There it was. The complication they'd been dancing around for weeks. Adriana sighed. I need to tell him. Soon. The longer I wait, the worse it gets. He's going to hate me. He's going to be surprised. Confused, probably. Maybe uncomfortable. But Ryan's a good person, Nathan. He'll want me to be happy. Even if happy means dating one of his college acquaintances? Even then, Nathan was quiet for a long moment. When are you going to tell him? This weekend. He and Rebecca are coming over for our weekly dinner. I'll tell him then. She squeezed Nathan's hand. No more hiding, no more half-truths. If we're doing this, we do it honestly. And if he reacts badly, then we deal with it. Together. The word, together, settled between them with the weight of a promise. Nathan pulled her closer, close enough that Adriana could feel the warmth of him, see the flecks of green in his eyes that she'd missed in the dim light of the wedding garden. I'm falling for you, he said quietly. I've been falling for you since you asked me to dance. And it terrifies me. Good. Because I'm falling for you too, and I'm absolutely terrified. They stood there in Nathan's small kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of a simple dinner, holding on to each other like they were the only solid thing in a world that had suddenly become very uncertain. Adriana left an hour later, after coffee and chocolate cake, and more conversation that meandered from Emma's school projects, to Nathan's upcoming work deadlines, to Adriana's plans for company expansion. Normal things, real things. The building blocks of something that could become permanent if they were careful and brave enough. Nathan walked her down to the lobby, his hand in hers, neither of them mentioning that this simple gesture felt monumental. Thank you for tonight, Adriana said as they reached her car, a sleek black sedan that looked absurdly out of place on Nathan's street. For letting me be part of this, part of your life. Thank you for wanting to be part of it. Adriana kissed his cheek, brief and soft and full of promise. Tell Emma I'll see her soon. She'll hold you to that. Good. As Adriana drove away, Nathan stood in the cool evening air and watched her taillights disappear around the corner. His phone buzzed before he even made it back inside. I meant what I said. I'm falling for you, Nathan Hale. He smiled, typed back, I'm falling for you too, Adriana Vale. Let me know how it goes with Ryan. I will. Wish me luck. You don't need luck. You face down hostile board members and corporate raiders. You can handle your son. Board members don't care if I'm happy. Ryan does. That makes it scarier. Nathan understood completely. The weekend arrived too quickly. Adriana spent Friday in back-to-back meetings, barely processing what anyone said, her mind already rehearsing the conversation she'd have with Ryan the next evening. She'd faced countless difficult conversations in her career, terminating employees, rejecting investors, navigating buyout attempts. But none of them had made her hands shake the way this one did. Saturday afternoon, she received a text from Nathan. How are you holding up? Nervous. You? Emma asked when you're coming back. I told her soon. She's drawing you a picture of a Brachiosaurus. Adriana smiled despite her anxiety. Tell her I can't wait to see it. Are you telling Ryan tonight? Yes. He and Rebecca are coming at 6. I'm doing this. No backing out. You're braver than you think, or more foolish. Same thing sometimes. At 6 o'clock, Ryan and Rebecca arrived at Adriana's penthouse, carrying wine and flowers. Ryan hugged his mother, stepped back to study her face. You look different, he said. Different how? I don't know. Lighter, maybe? Like you're not carrying as much weight. Rebecca elbowed him gently. What Ryan means is you look happy. I am happy, Adriana said, her heart already pounding. That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. They settled in the living room, Adriana on one couch, Ryan and Rebecca on the other. The penthouse felt too big suddenly, too formal for what she was about to say. She should have suggested meeting at a restaurant. Or a park. Anywhere but here, where the walls seemed to amplify every word. So what's going on, Mom? Ryan asked, accepting the wine Adriana poured. You sounded serious when you called. Adriana took a breath. I'm seeing someone. Ryan's eyebrows shot up. Really? That's great. Who is he? How did you meet? That's the complicated part. Adriana set down her wine glass, her hands unsteady. I met him at your wedding. At my... Wait, someone at the wedding? Do I know him? Yes, you do. Ryan leaned forward, suddenly more alert. Okay, now I'm intrigued. Who is it? One of Rebecca's cousins? Someone from work? Nathan Hale. The name hung in the air. Ryan's face went blank, processing. Nathan Hale, he repeated slowly. Nathan from college, the guy I invited because we used to do computer science projects together? Yes? My friend Nathan. Acquaintance, technically. You said yourself you hadn't talked in years. That's not the point, Mom. Ryan stood up, started pacing. He's my age. He's 32. I'm aware. You're 54. Also aware. Ryan stopped, ran his hands through his hair. I don't understand. How did this even happen? Adriana kept her voice steady. He was at the wedding, standing alone. I asked him to dance. We talked. We exchanged numbers. We've been talking ever since. Talking? Yes. And meeting for coffee. And I had dinner at his apartment last night with him and his daughter. He has a daughter? Emma. She's 6. Ryan sank back onto the couch, looking at his mother like she was a stranger. I don't even know what to say right now. Rebecca touched his arm gently. Maybe let your mom explain? Explain what? That she's dating someone young enough to be... He stopped himself. Someone barely older than me? The age difference is significant, Adriana admitted. I won't pretend it isn't. But Nathan is kind and honest and the first person in years who's looked at me like I'm just a woman, not a business opportunity. We connect, Ryan, in ways I haven't connected with anyone since your father, and even that was different. Does Nathan know how you feel? Yes. And he feels the same way? Yes. This is insane, Ryan muttered. My mother is dating my college friend. This is actually insane. He's not your friend, Adriana said quietly. You said yourself you haven't spoken in years. You invited him to the wedding because he was on your college contact list, not because you have an active relationship. That doesn't make this less weird, Mom. I know it's unexpected. I know it doesn't fit the narrative of what my life is supposed to look like. But I'm happy, Ryan. For the first time in years, I'm genuinely happy. Doesn't that matter? Ryan was quiet for a long time, staring at his hands. Rebecca watched him carefully, then looked at Adriana with something that might have been sympathy. Finally, Ryan spoke. Are you asking my permission? No, I'm telling you out of respect because you're my son and I love you, but I'm not asking permission to live my life. What if I can't accept this? The question hit like a physical blow. Adriana felt her throat tighten. Then I would be heartbroken, but I wouldn't end things with Nathan because you're uncomfortable. Ryan stood again, moved to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. His reflection was visible in the glass, tense shoulders, clenched jaw, the posture of someone trying to process information that didn't compute. Is he using you? Ryan asked without turning around. No. How do you know? Because he didn't know who I was when we met. Because he's never asked me for anything. Because he was terrified to let me into his life, not eager. Because... Adriana's voice softened. Because I know what it looks like when people want something from me, Ryan. I've been dealing with it for 30 years. Nathan isn't one of those people. What does he do? IT consultant. Works from home. Raises his daughter alone. So he has no money. He has enough. Mom, stop. Adriana's voice was sharp now. Don't reduce this to money. Don't make Nathan into some kind of gold digger when you don't even know him. Ryan finally turned from the window. You're right. I don't know him. I knew a kid in college who was quiet and smart and helped me pass computer science. I don't know who he is now, and I definitely don't know him as someone dating my mother. Then get to know him. What? Get to know him. Have coffee with him. Talk to him. See for yourself who he is instead of making assumptions based on age and income. Ryan looked at Rebecca, who nodded encouragingly. He sighed. This is so weird. I know. Like, objectively, incredibly weird. I know. And you're serious about him? This isn't just, I don't know, a midlife crisis or rebellion or whatever? Adriana stood, walked over to her son, and took his hands. I am serious about him. He makes me laugh. He challenges me. He sees me. And yes, it's complicated and unconventional and probably looks ridiculous from the outside, but it's real, Ryan. It's the most real thing I've felt in years. Ryan searched his mother's face. Are you happy? Actually happy? I am. Then I guess, he took a breath, I guess I need to wrap my head around this. I'm not saying I'm okay with it yet, but I'm not saying I'm not okay with it either. I just need time. That's fair. Can I meet him? Properly, I mean. Not at a wedding where I didn't even notice you two talking. Yes, whenever you're ready. And his daughter? Emma. She's wonderful, smart and funny, and completely unfiltered. Ryan managed a weak smile. Like someone else I know. Mom, they hugged then. Awkward and tight and full of unspoken things. When they pulled apart, Ryan's eyes were wet. I just want you to be happy, Mom. That's all I've ever wanted. I know, sweetheart. I know. Rebecca suggested they order dinner, clearly trying to ease the tension. They spent the next 2 hours talking carefully around the elephant in the room, discussing Rebecca's new job and Ryan's upcoming business trip, and everything except Nathan. When Ryan and Rebecca finally left, Adriana stood alone in her too big penthouse and called Nathan. He answered on the first ring. How did it go? He didn't hate it. He didn't love it, but he didn't hate it. That's something. He wants to meet you, properly. Nathan was quiet for a moment. Okay, when? I don't know yet. Soon, probably. He needs time to process. Are you okay? Adriana sank onto her couch, suddenly exhausted. I don't know. I feel like I just jumped off a cliff and I'm waiting to see if there's water at the bottom, or rocks. There's water. We'll make sure there's water. Promise? Promise. Emma finished your picture, by the way. It's a brachiosaurus wearing a crown. She said you seem like a queen. Adriana laughed despite everything. Tell her I love it. Tell her yourself. She wants to FaceTime you tomorrow to show you. Nathan, I know. Emma's moving fast. She doesn't understand complicated. She just knows she likes you and wants you around. His voice softened. Kind of like her dad. I like being around both of you, too. They talked until past midnight, Nathan describing Emma's bedtime negotiations and Adriana recounting every detail of the conversation with Ryan. When they finally hung up, Adriana felt steadier, not certain. There was still so much uncertainty ahead, but steadier. She walked to her bedroom window and looked out at the city lights, thinking about a small apartment across town where a man and his daughter were probably sleeping, where she'd felt more at home in 3 hours than she sometimes felt in her own space. This was terrifying. It was complicated. It made no logical sense. But it was real. And Adriana was done apologizing for choosing real over easy. Her phone buzzed one last time. A photo from Nathan, Emma's drawing of a brachiosaurus with an elaborate crown, all crooked lines and enthusiastic colors. The caption read, Queen of the Dinosaurs. She insisted. Adriana saved the photo, set it as her phone background, and fell asleep smiling. 3 days passed before Ryan called. 3 days of Nathan checking his phone compulsively, wondering if the silence meant anger or confusion, or worse, complete rejection. Adriana tried to reassure him during their nightly calls, but he could hear the tension in her voice too, the uncertainty that came with waiting for someone else's approval of something that shouldn't need approval in the first place. When Ryan's name finally appeared on Nathan's screen, it was a Thursday afternoon. Emma was at school. Nathan was supposed to be debugging a client's network issue, but had been staring at the same lines of code for 20 minutes without seeing them. He answered, Hello? Nathan, it's Ryan. A pause. I think we need to talk. Nathan's stomach dropped. Yeah, we do. There's a coffee shop on Amsterdam and 78th. Can you meet me there in an hour? I'll be there. Nathan hung up and immediately called Adriana. He wants to meet, he said without preamble. When? An hour? Some coffee shop uptown. Do you want me to come with you? No, this needs to be just us. Guy to guy, or whatever this is. Nathan, I know, I'm probably walking into an ambush. He's going to tell me to stay away from his mother and threaten me with lawyers or something equally dramatic. He's not going to do that. You don't know that. I know my son. He's protective, but he's not cruel. Just be honest with him. That's all you can do. Nathan arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early, his nerves making it impossible to sit still at home. He ordered black coffee he didn't want and sat at a corner table, watching the door like a man awaiting sentencing. Ryan walked in at exactly the appointed time. He looked different from the wedding, less polished, more tired. He wore jeans and a casual jacket, and there was something in his expression that Nathan couldn't quite read. Not anger, exactly. More like someone trying to solve a puzzle that shouldn't exist. Thanks for coming, Ryan said, sitting down across from Nathan without ordering anything. Of course. They sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. Finally, Ryan spoke. I'm trying to figure out if I should be angry. Are you? I don't know. That's the problem. Ryan leaned back in his chair. My mother told me she's dating you, my college acquaintance, someone I haven't spoken to in a decade, someone closer to my age than hers, and I'm sitting here trying to decide if I have any right to be upset about any of that. You have every right to feel however you feel, Nathan said carefully. That's a very diplomatic answer. I'm not trying to be diplomatic. I'm trying to be honest. Ryan studied him. So be honest. What's going on here? Are you actually interested in my mother, or is this some kind of, I don't know, opportunity? The question stung, but Nathan kept his voice level. I'm going to pretend you didn't just ask if I'm using your mother for money. I'm asking because I need to know. Then here's your answer. I didn't know who your mother was when I met her. She was just a woman at a wedding who asked me to dance. We talked, we connected. And yeah, when I found out she was Adriana Vale, CEO of Vale Technologies, it scared the hell out of me because I knew exactly how this would look from the outside. And yet you're still here. Because your mother is the most interesting person I've met in years. Because she's brilliant and funny and sees the world in ways that make me want to pay better attention to it. Because when I'm with her, I feel like the person I used to be before life got small and safe. Nathan met Ryan's eyes, and because she makes me want to be brave enough to try again. Ryan was quiet for a long moment. She said you have a daughter. Emma, she's 6. And she's met my mother? Yes. Adriana had dinner at our apartment. They got along really well. How well? Emma drew her a picture, asked when she's coming back. Currently refers to her as Daddy's friend who knows about the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. Despite himself, Ryan smiled slightly. That sounds like something Mom would know. Your mother is surprisingly well-versed in paleontology for someone who runs a medical technology company. She reads everything. Always has. When I was a kid, she used to come home from 12-hour days at the office and still help me with my homework. Didn't matter what subject. She'd figure it out. Ryan's expression softened, then hardened again. Which is why this is so strange. She's the smartest person I know, and this doesn't make sense. Why? Because I'm not rich? Because I'm younger? Because I don't fit whatever image you have of who she should be with? Because she's my mother, Ryan said, his voice rising slightly. And you're someone I barely know. And the idea of you two together it's weird, Nathan. It's objectively weird. I know it's weird. Trust me. I know. You think I haven't spent the last month wondering what I'm doing? I've got a 6-year-old daughter to think about. I can't just... Nathan stopped, collected himself. Look, I get it. This doesn't fit any normal pattern. But your mother and I aren't normal people living normal lives. We're both kind of lost, Ryan. Successful in some ways, lonely in others. And we found each other by accident, and it turns out we fit in ways neither of us expected. You're talking about my mother like she's some kind of lonely widow. She's been alone for almost 2 decades, hasn't she, since your father? Ryan flinched. That was her choice. She chose the company over relationships. Did she? Or did everyone in her life make her choose? Make her feel like she couldn't be both successful and connected? You don't know anything about that. You're right. I don't. But I know what loneliness looks like, Ryan. I've been living it for 4 years, and I recognize it in your mother. Ryan stood abruptly. I need air. They went outside, walking aimlessly down Amsterdam Avenue. The afternoon sun slanted between buildings, and the street hummed with the usual urban symphony of traffic and conversation and life happening all around them. I don't know how to process this, Ryan said finally. Every time I try to think about you and my mom together, my brain it doesn't compute. What if you stopped trying to make it compute and just asked yourself one question? What question? Is your mother happy? Ryan was quiet for half a block. She seems happy. Lighter, like I said. She smiles more. She's distracted during our dinners, which used to be sacred time. She mentioned maybe cutting back her hours, which she's never done in 30 years. He looked at Nathan. So yeah, she seems happy. which is why this is so confusing. Because you thought she was happy before? I thought she was content, fulfilled by the work. She built something incredible, Nathan, changed entire industries, saved lives with the technology her company developed. That's not nothing. It's everything, Nathan agreed. But it's not the same as being seen, as being wanted for who you are, not what you've built. They walked in silence for another block before Ryan spoke again. What do you want from this? From her? Honestly, I don't know. I'm taking it day by day. We're having coffee, having dinner, getting to know each other. I'm not making 5-year plans here. But you care about her. Yes. And Emma likes her. Emma adores her. Ryan stopped walking. That's what scares me most, I think. Not that you're dating my mother, but that if this goes wrong, there's a 6-year-old kid who's going to be collateral damage. Nathan felt the weight of that truth settle in his chest. I know, believe me, I know. That's why I almost walked away a dozen times already. But Emma's therapist, she sees someone, helps process stuff about her mother leaving. She said something that stuck with me. What? That showing Emma what healthy relationships look like is just as important as protecting her from unhealthy ones. That if I spend my whole life being afraid to let people in because someone might leave, I'm teaching her to do the same. Nathan shoved his hands in his pockets. So yeah, I'm terrified. But I'm also trying to be brave enough to show my daughter that taking risks on people can be worth it. Ryan started walking again. They ended up in a small park, sitting on a bench watching joggers and dog walkers pass by. I'm not going to give you my blessing, Ryan said eventually. I don't think I can do that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Nathan nodded. That's fair. But I'm not going to stand in your way either. My mother is an adult. She gets to make her own choices, even ones I don't understand. Okay. I do have one condition, though. What's that? Ryan turned to face him fully. If you hurt her, if you're using her, or if you break her heart, or if this is some kind of midlife crisis fling for you, I will make your life extremely unpleasant. I have resources. I have connections. I will use them. Despite the threat, Nathan smiled slightly. Good. She should have people looking out for her. I'm serious. So am I. Your mother is, Ryan, she's incredible. And the fact that you're protective of her just confirms that she raised a good son who loves her. I respect that. Ryan seemed caught off guard by this response. He looked away, jaw working. Can I ask you something? Nathan said. Go ahead. What was your father like? Adriana doesn't talk about him much. Ryan's expression darkened. He was brilliant, ambitious, and deeply insecure about being married to someone more successful than him. When the company started taking off, he couldn't handle it. Accused her of neglecting the family, even though he worked just as many hours. Made her feel guilty for every success, every award, every article featuring her instead of him. It became ammunition. Ryan picked at the bench's peeling paint. They divorced when I was 12. He moved to California, remarried within a year, started a new family. We barely talk now. I'm sorry. Don't be. Mom was better without him. We both were. But I watched what it did to her, the way she closed herself off after that. Threw herself into work because work couldn't leave her. Couldn't resent her success. Ryan looked at Nathan. She hasn't dated anyone seriously since. Not in 18 years, so when she told me about you, I didn't know whether to be happy she was finally opening up or terrified she was setting herself up to get hurt again. I'm not going to hurt her. You can't promise that. No one can. You're right. But I can promise to try. To be honest with her, to respect her, to show up even when it's hard. Nathan paused. And to never, ever resent her for being exactly who she is. They sat in silence for a while, watching the park's small fountain, listening to children play in the distance. I want to meet Emma, Ryan said suddenly. Nathan blinked. What? If you and my mother are serious, if this is really happening, then I should meet your daughter. See who you are as a father. See what kind of person Emma is. Ryan, you don't have to. I want to. Maybe it'll help me understand this better. Or maybe it'll just be weird. But I want to try. Nathan pulled out his phone. How about Saturday? We usually go to the Natural History Museum on Saturday mornings. Emma's obsessed with the dinosaur exhibits. You could come with us. No pressure, just Walking around, looking at fossils, seeing how it feels. Ryan considered this. Okay, Saturday, what time? 10 o'clock? We can meet you at the entrance. I'll be there. Ryan stood. And Nathan? This conversation? It doesn't mean we're friends. It doesn't mean I'm okay with all of this. It just means I'm willing to try to understand. That's more than I expected. Ryan nodded and walked away, leaving Nathan alone on the bench, wondering if that conversation had gone well or terribly, or somewhere confusingly in between. He called Adriana as soon as he got home. How did it go? She asked immediately. I honestly don't know. He threatened to ruin my life if I hurt you, so that's something. He what? It was actually kind of sweet, in a terrifying, overprotective son kind of way. Nathan filled her in on the conversation, including Ryan's request to meet Emma. Adriana was quiet when he finished. He wants to meet her? Saturday, Natural History Museum. I figured a public place, lots of distractions, low pressure. That's good, right? That he wants to meet her? I think so. Either that or he's doing reconnaissance to figure out if I'm secretly a terrible person. You're not a terrible person, Nathan. Your son doesn't know that yet. Saturday morning arrived with Emma bouncing off the walls with excitement. She'd been told someone was joining them at the museum. Nathan had kept it vague, just saying a friend of Adriana's wanted to come along. And Emma had prepared approximately 47 dinosaur facts she planned to share. Ryan was waiting at the museum entrance when they arrived, looking nervous in a way that made Nathan feel slightly better about his own anxiety. Hi, Ryan said. Hi, Ryan, this is Emma. This is Ryan. He's Adriana's son. Emma studied Ryan with the serious expression she reserved for important assessments. You're the one who got married. I am. Was it pretty? Very pretty. Did you have cake? We did. What kind? Vanilla with raspberry filling. Emma considered this. Good choice. I would have picked chocolate, but vanilla is acceptable. She grabbed Ryan's hand without warning. Come on! I want to show you the T-Rex first. His name is Rex, which isn't very creative, but he's still cool. Ryan let himself be pulled along, shooting Nathan a slightly panicked look over his shoulder. Nathan followed, trying not to laugh. The museum was crowded with weekend families, school groups, and tourists. Emma navigated through them like a tiny paleontologist on a mission, dragging Ryan from exhibit to exhibit, explaining everything with the enthusiasm of someone who'd memorized every placard. This is an Allosaurus, she said, pointing at a massive skeleton. He lived in the late Jurassic period, which was before the Cretaceous period when the T-Rex lived. A lot of people get that confused. I definitely would have gotten that confused, Ryan admitted. That's okay. Most people don't know about dinosaurs like I do. Adriana knows, though. She's very smart. She is very smart. Are you smart like her? Ryan smiled. I try to be. Do you like your mom? The question was so direct, so innocent, that Ryan actually laughed. Yes, I like my mom very much. Good, because she's Daddy's girlfriend now, so you have to be nice to him. Emma, Nathan said, mortified, we talked about this. What? It's true. You said you were dating. Dating means girlfriend and boyfriend. Miss Chen explained it in health class. Ryan looked at Nathan, eyebrows raised. Nathan wanted the museum floor to open up and swallow him whole. We're taking things slow, Nathan managed. You talk to her every night, Emma pointed out. And you smile at your phone all the time, and you bought new shirts. That's not slow. I didn't buy new shirts. You bought 3 new shirts. I saw them in your closet. Ryan was definitely trying not to laugh now. They moved through the museum, Emma providing running commentary on every exhibit while occasionally dropping conversational bombs about Nathan and Adriana's relationship with the casual brutality only children could manage. Does your mom make you eat vegetables? Emma asked Ryan during a momentary pause in her dinosaur lecture. When I was a kid, yeah. Daddy makes me eat vegetables too, but Adriana said some vegetables are better than others and it's okay to have preferences. I like her philosophy. She's always been good with negotiation. Is that why she's rich? Partially. Being rich seems complicated. You have to worry about people wanting your money all the time. Emma looked up at Ryan seriously. Daddy doesn't want her money. He just likes her because she's nice and smart and knows about dinosaurs and the asteroid. The asteroid? The one that killed all the dinosaurs. It was actually a meteor technically, but most people call it an asteroid. It hit in Mexico and caused worldwide devastation. Very sad. But without it, we probably wouldn't exist, so it's complicated. Ryan crouched down to Emma's level. You're a very smart kid. I know. Daddy says I get it from both my parents, but I think I mostly get it from him because my mom left when I was 2 and I don't remember her much. Nathan felt his chest tighten. Emma rarely mentioned her mother so casually. Ryan handled it with surprising grace. Well, you're lucky to have your dad. He seems like a really good father. He is. He reads me stories every night and helps with my homework and makes funny voices when we play dinosaurs. Emma paused. Do you think your mom would be a good mom to me too? The question hung in the air. Nathan opened his mouth to intervene, but Ryan spoke first. I think my mom would be good at anything she decided to do, including being in your life, if that's what happens. Good, because I like her, and Daddy likes her. And when people like each other, they should be together. That's what Ms. Chen says. They grabbed lunch at the museum cafe, overpriced sandwiches and juice boxes that Emma declared acceptable but not optimal. She chattered through the entire meal, giving Ryan no chance to feel awkward or ask difficult questions. When they finally left the museum 3 hours later, Emma hugged Ryan goodbye with the same unselfconscious affection she'd shown Adriana. You should come to dinner sometime, she told him. Daddy makes really good pasta, and Adriana brings fancy desserts. You could bring something too. I'll think about it, Ryan said, ruffling her hair. Emma skipped ahead to look at a street performer, leaving Nathan and Ryan alone on the museum steps. She's something else, Ryan said. That's one way to put it. I can see why my mom likes her. She's honest. No filter. Just says exactly what she's thinking. It's terrifying sometimes, Ryan smiled. Mom's the same way in business, just more polished. He looked at Nathan. I get it now. Why she likes you. Yeah? Emma's happy. You're a good dad. You're not trying to impress me or manage me or play some game. You're real. Ryan shook his head. It's still weird. I'm not going to pretend it's not weird. But I can see why Mom feels safe with you. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm still reserving judgment. Fair enough. They stood there for a moment, two men connected by a woman they both loved in different ways, trying to figure out how to coexist in her life. Same time next week? Ryan asked suddenly. Nathan blinked. What? Museum. Emma clearly has more to teach me about dinosaurs. And I figure if I'm going to be part of this, whatever this is, I should probably get to know you both better. Yeah, that would be, yeah. Ryan nodded and walked away. Nathan watched him go, feeling something shift in his chest. Not certainty exactly, but maybe the beginning of possibility. Emma ran back to him, grabbing his hand. I like Ryan. He listens good. Can we come back next week? He actually just invited us. Good. I'll prepare more facts. Did you know that some dinosaurs had feathers? I forgot to tell him that part. That evening, after Emma was in bed, Nathan FaceTimed Adriana and told her everything. Ryan wants to come to the museum again next week, he finished. I think he's trying. He called me after, Adriana said softly. Told me Emma was delightful and exhausting in equal measure. That's accurate. He also said, Adriana's voice caught slightly. He said he could see why I cared about you, that you were kind to him even when he was being difficult, that Emma clearly adores you and has good judgment for a 6-year-old. He's coming around. Maybe. Or maybe he's just accepting that this is happening whether he understands it or not. Is that enough? For now, yes. Eventually? I don't know. Adriana looked directly at the camera. But I know I'm not giving this up, Nathan. I'm not giving you up. Ryan's opinion matters to me, but it doesn't get to dictate my life. I love you, Nathan said, the words surprising him as they came out. Adriana's breath caught. What? I love you. I've been trying not to say it because it's too soon and too complicated, and we haven't even been doing this for 2 months yet. But I love you, Adriana. I love how you are with Emma. I love how you challenge me. I love that you know about asteroid impacts and hostile takeovers and still make time to draw dinosaurs with a 6-year-old. I love you. Adriana's eyes were wet. I love you too. So much it terrifies me. Good. Let's be terrified together. They stayed on the call until past midnight, talking about nothing and everything. Two people who'd found each other by accident and were building something intentional from the fragments of their separate lives. The next week, Ryan showed up at the museum again. And the week after that. Each time he was a little less guarded, a little more present. Emma won him over completely, and gradually, tentatively, he and Nathan began to feel less like adversaries and more like two people trying to navigate the same impossible situation. 3 weeks after their first coffee shop conversation, Ryan invited Nathan and Emma to dinner at his place. Adriana was already there when they arrived, and the four of them sat around Ryan and Rebecca's dining table eating takeout Thai food while Emma explained plate tectonics. It was awkward and strange and imperfect. It was also the moment Nathan realized this might actually work. Not easily. Not without continued effort and communication and probably more uncomfortable conversations. But maybe, just maybe, they could build something real from this unlikely beginning. As they left that night, Ryan pulled Nathan aside. "I'm still not completely okay with this," he said quietly. "But my mom is happier than I've seen her in years. Emma is a great kid. And you're not what I expected. Is that good or bad?" "Good. Mostly good." Ryan offered his hand. Let's keep trying. See where this goes." Nathan shook his hand. "Deal." On the drive home, Emma fell asleep in the back seat. Nathan glanced at her in the rearview mirror, then at his phone where a text from Adriana waited. "Thank you for tonight, for being patient with Ryan, for letting us all figure this out together." He typed back one-handed. "Thank you for being worth figuring it out for." The response came immediately. "Come over tomorrow? After Emma's at school? I want to see you, just us. I'll be there." Nathan drove through the quiet streets, his daughter asleep behind him, the woman he loved waiting for tomorrow, and Ryan slowly accepting the impossible thing they'd created. It wasn't perfect. It would never be simple, but it was theirs. And that was enough. The next morning, Nathan dropped Emma at school and drove across town to Adriana's penthouse with his heart hammering against his ribs. They'd seen each other plenty of times over the past weeks, coffee dates, dinners with Emma, museum trips with Ryan, but this felt different, intentional. Just the two of them, no buffers, no 6-year-old chaperone asking questions about dinosaurs and feelings. The doorman recognized him now, nodded him through without the careful scrutiny of that first visit. Nathan rode the elevator to the top floor, watching the city drop away beneath him through the glass walls. Adriana opened the door before he could knock. She wore jeans and a soft sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders, and she looked younger somehow. Less like the CEO in the business magazines and more like the woman who'd asked him to dance at a wedding that felt like a lifetime ago. "Hi," she said. "Hi." They stood there for a moment, suddenly shy despite everything they'd shared over phones and coffee shops and museum benches. "Come in," Adriana said finally, stepping aside. The penthouse looked different in daylight, less imposing. The floor-to-ceiling windows flooded the space with light, and Nathan could see details he'd missed during that first dinner with Ryan. Books stacked on every surface, a half-finished jigsaw puzzle on the coffee table, photographs of Ryan at various ages scattered throughout the room. "I made coffee," Adriana said. "Or I tried to. Fair warning, my coffee maker costs more than most cars, and I still haven't figured out how to use it properly." Nathan smiled. "I'll take my chances." They settled on this couch with mugs of coffee that was, indeed, slightly too strong. The city sprawled below them, indifferent to their small drama. "Ryan texted me this morning," Adriana said. "Said last night was good. That Emma taught him about continental drift, and he's thinking about taking a geology class. Emma has that effect on people. Suddenly, everyone's interested in science they forgot existed. He's trying, Nathan, really trying. I know, it means a lot." Adriana set down her coffee and turned to face him fully. "I need to tell you something." Nathan's stomach tightened. "Okay. The board wants me to do a press tour next month. New product launch, medical imaging technology that could revolutionize early cancer detection. It's a big deal. Interviews, conferences, probably international travel." She took a breath. "And I'm thinking about saying no." "What? Why?" "Because I've spent 30 years saying yes to everything. every opportunity, every interview, every chance to expand the company. And I'm tired, Nathan. I'm tired of hotel rooms and airports and smiling for cameras while talking about quarterly projections. She reached for his hand. I want time. Time with you. Time with Emma. Time to figure out what my life looks like when it's not consumed by work. Adriana, you can't turn down something important because of me. I'm not turning it down because of you. I'm turning it down for me, because I finally have something in my life that matters more than the next board meeting or product launch. What about the company? What about everything you've built? The company will survive. I have excellent people, a strong leadership team. Veil Technologies existed before this product launch, and it'll exist after, whether I'm personally doing press tours or not. She squeezed his hand. I'm not abandoning the company, Nathan. I'm just setting boundaries, choosing what gets my time and energy instead of letting everything take it by default. Nathan looked at their joined hands. You're sure about this? I'm sure about you, about us, about wanting a life that's bigger than conference calls and shareholder meetings. I don't want you to resent me later, or resent this relationship for changing who you are. Adriana laughed softly. Nathan, you haven't changed who I am. You've reminded me who I am. There's a difference. She shifted closer. I built an empire to prove I could, to prove my ex-husband wrong, to prove every man who underestimated me wrong, to prove to myself that I could be successful on my own terms. And I did it. Mission accomplished. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that success was supposed to be a means to a life, not the life itself. What kind of life do you want? One where I wake up next to someone I love, where I have dinner with my son without checking my phone every 5 minutes, where a brilliant 6-year-old teaches me about dinosaurs, and I actually have the space to enjoy it instead of thinking about tomorrow's meeting. She cupped his face with her free hand. I want a life with you in it, Nathan. However that looks. Nathan kissed her then, slow and soft and full of everything he'd been holding back. When they pulled apart, Adriana was smiling. I have another confession, she said. Should I be worried? Probably. I've been looking at houses. Nathan blinked. Houses? Your apartment is wonderful, but it's small, and my penthouse is, well, it's not exactly child-friendly. All glass and sharp corners and expensive things Emma would inevitably break. Adriana pulled out her phone, opened a real estate app. I found a place in Brooklyn, Park Slope, 4 bedrooms, a yard, good schools nearby. It's close enough to the city for work, but far enough to feel like a neighborhood. Nathan stared at the listing. The house was beautiful, a renovated brownstone with original details and modern updates. The kind of place that showed up in home design magazines. Adriana, that house costs, I can't even imagine what that costs. $7 million, but that's not the point. $7 million is absolutely the point. No, the point is that it could be ours, not mine, not yours, ours. She set down the phone. I know we're moving fast. I know this is crazy, but I'm 54 years old, Nathan. I don't have time to waste on slow and careful anymore. I know what I want. I want you. I want Emma. I want a home that feels like it belongs to all of us. Nathan stood up, started pacing. You're talking about us living together. Eventually, yes. You barely know me. I know you better than I've known anyone in years. I know you're kind and patient, and the way you love your daughter makes me believe in good things again. I know you laugh at my terrible jokes and don't care that I can't cook. I know you see me as a person, not a portfolio. Adriana stood too, caught his hands to stop his pacing. I know this is fast, but I also know I've never been more certain of anything in my life. What about Emma? What if she's not ready for this? Emma asked me last week if I was going to be her mom now. Nathan's breath caught. What did you say? I said that's something we'd all have to figure out together, but that I'd very much like to be an important person in her life. Adriana's voice softened. She said that was acceptable, and then asked if that meant she could call me Adriana Mom to differentiate from her other mom who she doesn't remember. That child has the negotiation skills of a seasoned diplomat. Despite everything, Nathan laughed. That sounds like Emma. So what do you say? Will you at least look at the house with me? No pressure, no commitments. Just consider the possibility? Nathan pulled her close, rested his forehead against hers. You're absolutely insane. Is that a yes? That's a let me talk to Emma first and make sure she's okay with all of this before we look at $7 million houses. I'll take it. They spent the rest of the morning on the couch, talking about everything and nothing. Adriana showed him more house listings, not just the Brooklyn brownstone, but various possibilities across the city. Nathan told her about Emma's upcoming school play, how she'd been cast as a dinosaur who sang about extinction. Only Emma would get excited about playing a dinosaur singing its own eulogy, Adriana said. She's writing additional verses. The teacher is encouraging but concerned. Around noon, Nathan's phone rang. His mother. I should take this, he said. She watches Emma after school on Tuesdays. Go ahead, Nathan answered. Hey, Mom. Nathan, honey, I just wanted to confirm I'm picking up Emma today? Yeah, same as always. I'll be back by 5. There was a pause. Are you with Adriana? Nathan glanced at Adriana, who was pretending to look at her phone but was clearly listening. Yeah, we're just having coffee. I like her, you know. I met her last week when she picked Emma up from my place. She's good people, Nathan. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Thanks, Mom. That Ryan boy seems to be coming around too. Emma talks about him constantly, says he knows things about rocks now. Geology. She's teaching him geology. Well, whatever it is, she's happy. You're happy. That's what matters. His mother's voice turned serious. Your father would have liked her too. He always said you needed someone who challenged you. Nathan felt his throat tighten. His father had died 3 years ago, right before Emma's mother left. Yeah, he would have. Bring her to Sunday dinner sometime. I'll make the pot roast she liked. You've already fed her pot roast? She came by to drop off Emma last week and stayed for dinner. Didn't she tell you? Nathan looked at Adriana, who was suddenly very interested in her coffee. No, she somehow forgot to mention that. Well, she's lovely, and she ate 2 helpings, which means she's practical despite all that money. Anyone who appreciates good pot roast is fine by me. After he hung up, Nathan raised an eyebrow at Adriana. Sunday dinner with my mother? She invited me. It would have been rude to decline. You had pot roast. It was excellent pot roast. Your mother is a wonderful cook. Anything else you want to tell me? Any other family members you've been secretly having meals with? Adriana smiled innocently. Emma's teacher asked me to come talk to her class about careers in science. Apparently, Emma has been telling everyone her almost mom runs a medical technology company. Her almost mom? That's the current terminology, subject to change pending further negotiations. Nathan shook his head, but he was smiling. You're integrating yourself into every aspect of my life. Is that a problem? No, it's a lot to process. Take your time, I'm not going anywhere. That evening, Nathan sat Emma down for a serious conversation. She was at the kitchen table doing homework, tongue poking out in concentration as she worked through math problems. Em, can we talk about something? Emma looked up. Is this about Adriana wanting to be my almost mom? Because I already decided that's fine. She's nice and she knows things, and she doesn't make me eat vegetables I hate. It's related to that. How would you feel if Adriana was around more? Like, a lot more. How much more? Like, maybe living with us eventually? Emma set down her pencil, considering this with the gravity it deserved. Would we still live here? Probably not. We'd get a bigger place, somewhere with more room. Would I get my own room still? Yes, definitely. Would there be a yard? Maybe. Could I get a dog? Nathan smiled. We'd have to talk about that. Emma nodded slowly. Would you and Adriana get married like Ryan and Rebecca? I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe someday. Would that be okay with you? Would she be my mom then? The question was so simple, so huge, that Nathan had to take a moment to answer. She could be. If you wanted her to be, you'd still have your birth mother, even if we don't see her. But Adriana could be, she could be another mom, a different kind of mom. Ms. Chen says families can look lots of different ways. Some kids have 2 moms or 2 dads or grandparents or other combinations. She says what matters is that people love each other and take care of each other. Ms. Chen is very wise. I know. She has a PhD. Emma picked up her pencil again. I think it would be okay if Adriana lived with us, as long as she keeps bringing good desserts and doesn't try to make me eat Brussels sprouts. Those are my boundaries. Those seem like reasonable boundaries. When would we move? Not right away. We'd have to find the right place first and talk about it more. Make sure everyone's ready. Can I tell Adriana my boundaries? Absolutely. In fact, she'd probably appreciate knowing them up front. Emma went back to her homework, apparently considering the matter settled. Nathan sat there watching her, marveling at her resilience, her openness, her ability to accept change that would have terrified most adults. "Daddy?" Emma said without looking up. "Yeah? I'm glad you found Adriana. You seem less sad now." Nathan's chest tightened. "I didn't know I seemed sad before. You didn't smile as much, and sometimes I'd hear you awake late at night, walking around, but you don't do that anymore." Emma looked up at him. "I think Adriana makes you happy. That's good. Parents should be happy too, not just kids." Nathan pulled her into a hug. "When did you get so smart?" "I was born smart. It's genetic." Saturday afternoon, Nathan, Emma, and Adriana stood in front of the Brooklyn brownstone. The real estate agent had opened it up for them, then tactfully disappeared to give them space to explore. Emma ran from room to room, her voice echoing through the empty space. "This room could be mine, and this one could be for guests, and this one could be Daddy's office, and this bathroom has a window." Adriana and Nathan followed more slowly, taking in the details. Original hardwood floors, restored crown molding, a kitchen that managed to feel both modern and classic. The backyard was small but private, with enough space for a garden and maybe, possibly, eventually, a dog. "What do you think?" Adriana asked quietly. "I think it's the most beautiful house I've ever seen." But it costs $7 million, Adriana. I can't contribute to that. I can't even contribute a meaningful percentage of that. I'm not asking you to contribute financially. I'm asking if you can see us living here, if you can picture Emma growing up here, if you can imagine coming home to this place at the end of the day and feeling like it's ours. Nathan walked to the window overlooking the backyard. Emma was out there now, spinning in circles on the small patch of grass, arms outstretched like she could embrace the whole space. "I can see it," he admitted, "but I need you to understand something. If we do this, if we move in together, build a life together, I need to contribute somehow. I can't just be the guy who lives in your house, drives your car, exists in your world. So contribute, pay utilities, handle groceries. I don't care about the money, Nathan. I care about building something together." "What about your work? The company?" "I'm scaling back, not leaving, just rebalancing, promoting my COO to handle more of the day-to-day operations. Keeping the strategic decisions and the projects I actually care about, delegating the rest." Adriana turned to face him. "I'm 54 years old and I've spent 30 years building an empire. I'm ready to spend the next 30 years living in it." Emma came running back inside. "There's a tree in the backyard. A real tree. Can we hang a swing from it?" "We'd have to check if the branch is strong enough," Nathan said. "Can we get the house? Please? It's perfect. It has stairs and a tree, and the bedroom I want has a window seat where I can read." Adriana crouched down to Emma's level. "Before we decide anything, I need to know your boundaries. Your dad said you have some." Emma nodded seriously. "No Brussels sprouts, ever. They're disgusting. Deal. What else? You have to keep bringing good desserts, and you have to read me stories sometimes when Daddy's tired, and you have to promise not to leave like my other mom did." The last one hung in the air. Adriana's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steady. "I promise, Emma. I'm not going anywhere." "Okay. Then you can be my almost mom, or maybe my real mom. We can figure out the details later." "We can definitely figure out the details later." Emma hugged her, quick and fierce, then ran off to explore the upstairs again. Adriana stood, wiping her eyes. "Well, that was more direct than any business negotiation I've ever been in." Ooh, she learned from the best, apparently. They found the real estate agent and made an offer. It was accepted within hours. Cash offers on $7 million properties tended to move quickly. That night, after Emma was asleep, Nathan and Adriana sat on his apartment couch, the same couch where they'd had coffee that first afternoon, and tried to process what they'd just done. "We bought a house," Nathan said. "We bought a house. We've been dating for 2 months. 63 days, technically. This is insane. Completely insane." Adriana laced her fingers through his. Want to back out? No. Do you? Not even a little bit. The house closed in 3 weeks. Adriana paid cash, put both their names on the deed despite Nathan's protests. They spent the next month slowly moving in. Nathan's modest belongings from the apartment, select pieces from Adriana's penthouse, new furniture they picked out together. Emma chose her room carefully, the one with the window seat and the view of the backyard tree. Nathan set up his office in the third bedroom, filling it with computers and servers and the organized chaos of his work. Adriana claimed the fourth bedroom as her own office, though she admitted she'd probably spend more time working from the kitchen table. Ryan helped them move, along with Rebecca. It was still awkward sometimes, watching his mother and Nathan navigate their new shared space, but Ryan was trying. He showed up for furniture assembly, for painting Emma's room her chosen shade of purple, for takeout dinners on the floor while they waited for the dining table to be delivered. This is really happening, Ryan said one evening, standing in what would be the living room, watching Nathan and Adriana debate furniture placement. Yeah, Rebecca said beside him. It really is. And we're okay with it? I think we're getting there. Mom seems happy. She does. Nathan seems happy too. And Emma's over the moon. Ryan watched his mother laugh at something Nathan said, saw the way she touched his arm naturally, comfortably. I don't understand it, but I don't think I have to understand it to accept it. That's probably the healthiest thing you've said about this whole situation. I'm trying, for Mom. And I guess for Nathan and Emma too. They're family now. Somehow. 3 months after the wedding, where they'd first danced, Nathan and Adriana hosted a small dinner party in their new home. Ryan and Rebecca, Nathan's mother, a few close friends. Emma appointed herself tour guide, showing everyone her room, the backyard tree, the kitchen where Adriana keeps the good chocolate that we're only allowed to have after dinner. They ate at the table Nathan and Adriana had picked out together, large enough for family dinners, intimate enough not to feel empty. The conversation flowed easily, laughter punctuating stories and teasing, and the gentle chaos of people who were figuring out how to be a family in all its unconventional glory. After dinner, while others cleaned up, Nathan and Adriana stepped out into the backyard. The evening was cool, early autumn just beginning to hint at the cold to come. The tree Emma loved cast long shadows across the grass. We did it, Adriana said softly. Did what? Built something. Built this. She gestured at the house, the laughter filtering through the windows, the life they'd created in such a short, impossible time. It's not what I expected my life to look like. Is that good or bad? Nathan pulled her close. It's better. It's so much better than anything I could have planned. Inside, Emma was teaching Ryan a song about plate tectonics. Nathan's mother was showing Rebecca photos of Nathan as a child. Someone was making coffee. Someone else was cutting the cake Adriana had brought from her favorite bakery. It was messy and imperfect, and nothing like the carefully controlled life Adriana had built over 30 years. Nothing like the safe, small existence Nathan had retreated into after his divorce. It was real. It was theirs. I love you, Adriana said. I don't think I say it enough. You say it constantly. Not with words, but I should use words too. I love you too, even though you're completely insane and convinced me to buy a $7 million house after dating for 2 months. I bought the house. You just agreed to live in it. Semantics, Adriana laughed, the sound carrying across the small yard. Through the window, Nathan could see Emma demonstrating something with wild hand gestures, Ryan watching with amused patience. Dance with me, Adriana said suddenly. There's no music. There's always music. You just have to listen for it. So they danced in the backyard of their too expensive house. No music except the distant sounds of the city and the laughter from inside and the rustling of leaves in Emma's beloved tree. They danced like they had at the wedding, a little clumsy, a little uncertain, but together. Thank you, Nathan said quietly. For what? For asking me to dance, for seeing me when I felt invisible, for taking a chance on this impossible thing. Thank you for saying yes, for letting me in, for showing me what life could be if I stopped building empires and started building a home. Winter came and went. The house settled around them, filling with the sounds and rhythms of daily life. Emma started second grade at the neighborhood school. Nathan took on fewer clients, spent more time being present. Adriana restructured her role at Vale Technologies, stepping back from operations to focus on innovation and strategy. They had their first real fight 3 months in, something stupid about dishes and expectations and the tiny frustrations that build up when people learn to coexist. Emma hid in her room while they argued, then emerged an hour later to announce that Ms. Chen says healthy couples communicate and compromise. They learn to communicate, to compromise, to navigate the 1,000 small adjustments required when building a life with someone else. Ryan stopped by most Sunday mornings. Sometimes just him, sometimes with Rebecca. Emma started calling them Uncle Ryan and Aunt Rebecca, titles they accepted with surprised pleasure. The museum visits continued, expanding to include everyone, awkward family outings that gradually became less awkward and more just family. One Saturday in spring, nearly a year after the wedding, Nathan found Adriana in the backyard garden she'd started. She was kneeling in the dirt, planting something that would bloom later in summer. "Emma wants a dog," Nathan said, sitting beside her on the grass. "I know. She's been leaving research papers about responsible pet ownership around the house." She made a PowerPoint presentation. "I saw it. Very thorough. Good data on different breeds suitable for families. What do you think?" Adriana sat back on her heels, looked at the house, the yard, the life they'd built. "I think a dog would fit nicely, as long as it's not too big, and someone else handles the early morning walks." "Deal." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching clouds drift across the spring sky. "I've been thinking," Adriana said eventually. About making this permanent, official." Nathan's heart skipped. "What are you saying?" Adriana pulled off her gardening gloves, reached into her pocket, and produced a small velvet box. "I'm saying that I'm 55 years old and you're 33 and none of this makes sense on paper. I'm saying that my son still thinks it's weird, but he's learning to accept it. I'm saying that Emma asked me last week when she could start calling me Mom instead of almost Mom." She opened the box to reveal 2 simple platinum bands. "I'm saying marry me, Nathan Hale. Make this official. Make this forever." Nathan stared at the rings, at this extraordinary woman kneeling in her garden, proposing with dirt on her hands and hope in her eyes. "I don't have a ring for you," he said stupidly. "I bought us both rings. I'm a planner. It's what I do." "You're supposed to wait for me to propose." "I waited 30 years for someone worth proposing to. I'm done waiting." Nathan laughed, pulled her close, kissed her with the spring sun warm on their backs, and the house they'd built watching over them. "Yes, obviously yes." "Obviously? Did you really think I'd say no?" "I thought you might want more time, might think it's too fast." "Everything about us has been too fast. Why stop now?" They got married 3 months later in the backyard, under Emma's tree. Small ceremony, close friends and family only. Emma served as flower girl and ring bearer and insisted on making a speech about how dinosaurs mated for life sometimes and humans should too. Ryan gave a toast that started awkward and ended sincere, welcoming Nathan officially to the family and thanking him for making his mother happy. Rebecca cried. Nathan's mother cried. Even Adriana got a little misty during the vows. When it came time for their first dance as a married couple, the DJ played the same song that had been playing at Ryan's wedding when Adriana first asked Nathan to dance. "I can't believe we're doing this to the same song," Nathan said as they swayed. "It's our song now. It was always our song." "I still can't dance." "I don't care." They danced badly and beautifully, surrounded by everyone they loved, in the backyard of the home they'd built from an impossible chance meeting. Emma watched from the sidelines with Ryan, who'd surprised everyone by asking if she wanted to dance next. "Only if you promise not to step on my feet," Emma said seriously. "I'll do my best." "Good enough. Ms. Chen says effort matters more than perfection." As the evening wore on and the celebration continued, Nathan found himself standing at the edge of the yard, watching it all. The string lights they'd hung, the small cluster of guests laughing and dancing, Emma teaching Ryan's stepfather about metamorphic rocks, Adriana talking animatedly with his mother about something that had them both laughing. This life. This impossible, improbable, wonderful life. A year ago, he'd been invisible, hiding in the back of a wedding reception, convinced his life had contracted to its smallest, safest form. Now he was married to a brilliant woman who challenged and understood him in equal measure. Living in a beautiful home with a daughter who was thriving and a family that kept expanding in unexpected ways, building something bigger than he'd ever imagined possible. Adriana appeared beside him, slipped her hand into his. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "That I'm glad you asked me to dance. Best decision I ever made. Better than building a billion-dollar company? Not even close. The company made me successful. You made me happy." They stood together, watching their wedding reception unfold in the backyard of their home, and Nathan thought about invisible people and how sometimes being seen by the right person changes everything. "Dance with me again," Adriana said. "We just danced." "So, dance with me anyway." So they did. They danced in their backyard under string lights and stars, while Emma chased fireflies and Ryan attempted the Macarena at his wife's insistence, and the evening stretched into the kind of perfect that only comes from imperfect people trying their best. They danced because a year ago, a woman had crossed a crowded room to ask a stranger to dance. They danced because sometimes the most meaningful relationships don't begin with grand plans or perfect timing. They dance because sometimes all it takes is one person seeing you, really seeing you, to change the entire trajectory of a life. And they kept dancing long after the music ended because that's what love is. Continuing to move together even when the song is over, even when it doesn't make sense, even when everyone's watching and judging and trying to understand how something so unlikely could work. It works because they chose each other. Every day in 1,000 small ways, they chose each other. That night, after the guests left and Emma was asleep upstairs in her purple room, Nathan and Adriana sat on their back porch, tired and happy, wedding bands catching the light. "We did it," Nathan said. "We did. Think we'll make it?" "I think we've already made it. Everything else is just details." Nathan pulled her close, kissed her temple, breathed in the scent of her shampoo and wedding flowers, and the future they'd built from one unexpected dance. Somewhere in the house, Emma's alarm clock ticked toward tomorrow. The city hummed beyond their small yard. The world continued spinning, indifferent to their small miracle. But here, in this moment, in this home they'd created together, Nathan Hale and Adriana Vale sat in the darkness and believed in impossible things. Because sometimes the billionaire asks the invisible man to dance, and sometimes, against all odds and logic and conventional wisdom, they build something real from that single moment of connection. Sometimes they build forever.